Let's talk about resistance. If you've been doing any degree of self-help, if you've been part of spiritual circles, you've probably heard about resistance. If you've been doing any sort of inner work, you've probably heard about resistance, which is when there's an inner conflict about what you would like to create. Meaning all of your energy doesn't seem to be behind it. Even when you desire this fully, it doesn't seem like you're able to rally all of who you are behind it. There's some sort of inner conflict. And sometimes it may be very clear, very conscious, and sometimes it may also be unconscious, meaning we are very often in denial of our own resistance. For some reasons, at times we are not willing to be present with it. But if somebody were to look at things from the outside, and you had told this person, this is what I'm about to create, and they would just observe your actions, they'd be like, what are you doing? It doesn't seem like your actions are matching what you want. What is going on here? Sometimes we have unconscious resistance as well, meaning it is expressed from the shadow. And working with resistance is actually about bringing our energy back into alignment in all the ways we can. So I'm going to remind a few things about resistance before we move forward. Resistance can be that inner conflict. It can also be an outer conflict. When you're trying to create something, and you're receiving a lot of oppositional forces that are coming from outside, and inside it shows up as an inner divide. That is what resistance can feel like. Now, how traditionally people have been dealing with resistance is, a lot of powering through. And I'm not here to try to make all of these things wrong. A lot of powering through, sometimes the supremacy of the mind, when we're dealing with resistance, which is the mind has spoken, this is what I desire, and everything that is standing in the way is wrong. The mind has spoken, this is what I want to create, and everything that is standing in the way is wrong. Every thought that is standing in the way needs to be deleted, cancelled, repressed. So we often meet our resistance with a lot of aggression even. We often meet our resistance with a lot of aggression, a lot of inner gaslighting. We try to push it down, repress it, cancel, get rid of it. And in my opinion, that is something that that is something that gets you to create from a perspective where your energy is not fully integrated. And in my opinion, if you attempt to create something from a perspective where your energy is not really integrated, meaning there hasn't been a feeling of unity, a unified will behind whatever you're trying to create, sometimes that shows up in the creation. The creation that you end up happening sometimes is a little bit flat. It's not really satisfying. Whatever you are looking to get in that creation doesn't really achieve what you wanted to get. So resistance is also a statement. It's also a signal that your will is split. Meaning, yes, there is a part of you that consciously desires this. And then there's another part of you that you may not be willing to fully be present with. That is saying no. And that is not necessarily wrong. Resistance is not a bad thing. It's not wrong at all. I'm going to give you an example where sometimes the resistance can actually come from a gut feeling. Let's suppose that you're walking late at night and part of you is like, well, this would be the shortest path to go home. I am tired and I need to sleep, but that path a part of you feels, there's an aspect of it that is not really that doesn't feel quite right. There's an aspect of it that doesn't feel quite right. And maybe there was somebody waiting there to mug you, to attack you. So sometimes resistance can actually be a very good thing. A part of you that is kicking in and telling you, hey, listen to me right here. I know you want to go home. I know you would like to get there faster. And I know that this seems to be the straight line that will bring you home. but there's actually something in there that will prevent you from getting home and maybe even harm you. So sometimes resistance can actually be coming from a gut feeling that is like, hey, we need to adjust the course. We need to adjust the course. Because very often, I'm inviting you to think about this. Your resistance is never against you, even if it looks like it. Your resistance is never against you, even if it looks like it. I'm offering this paradigm. Your resistance is never against you, even if it looks like it. Sometimes indeed your resistance can be, based on an old paradigm, an old thought form that is not necessarily supportive to what you're trying to create. And even then, it is very often an attempt at protecting a specific aspect of you. Even then, it is very often an attempt at protecting an aspect of you. Or as well, it can be an attempt at just you clarifying a value system. There may have been an oppositional values that you didn't know that you were still holding on to. I'm going to take an example. Let's say you find yourself in a very abusive relationship and the person is actually found. The relationship is extremely abusive and it's with a family member. And you know deep down that you need to create space with that person. You need to create space with that person for your own good, for your own safety. You've known that. The relationship is that abusive. And then there is a part of you that is still holding on to the belief family is everything. Or, if you don't have your family, you have no one. Or a part of you that is still afraid of ending up alone. The part of you that is still holding on to the perspective, I am going to be alone in the world and I don't want it. So resistance can also come from there. That's just another example to just see. Sometimes your resistance is not just something that is wrong or bad. It is actually protecting a specific aspect of you. So instead of trying to cut off resistance, which would be a legit attempt at fragmenting yourself again, the perspective that I'm inviting you to embrace is a perspective of inner reconciliation. A perspective of inner reconciliation. If you identify only with the part of you that craves the desire, what you're going to often try to do is to repress and push against that other part of you. And creating from that split energy is not really supportive. So there's an invitation to take a step back and to actually begin to observe the oppositional forces and to begin to address resistance very directly in a way that is quite straightforward. And how can you begin to do that? Just begin by becoming aware of all the ways you hijack what you seem to want. Become aware of all the ways, consciously or unconsciously, you seem to hijack what you want. Is it procrastination? Does it show up like shifting priorities? You say you want this and, for some reason you find your way into something else. How does that show up for you? And also, we happen to be very much in denial of all resistance. We push it away because we have that attitude of self-shaming when we are dealing with resistance. So yes, first, become aware of all the ways that resistance is showing up. And release the need to shame yourself for your resistance. Embrace it with curiosity. Name that resistance. What is it? What is it that you often do? Can you begin to ask yourself, how is it an unconscious attempt at protecting myself? How is this an unconscious attempt at protecting myself? Begin to really ask these questions. Begin to explore the feeling signature of resistance in your body and what it is pointing at. Because the more you can begin to be intimate with your resistance, the more you will illuminate that, oh, maybe there is actually another need underneath the resistance. Maybe it's not just some mindless activity that I'm doing to hinder my own evolution and my own growth. Maybe there is a part of me that has been trying to be heard for decades. And I've been making that part of me wrong. Maybe for the next step of my evolution, that part of me actually gets to play a role in there. Maybe that part of me gets to come with me. I'm going to take another example here. Imagine that for years, you had this relationship with routine. You had a specific relationship. Let's take this example actually. You used to be in the Marines. And, there are these great things that they often do to get the mind straight. Training, mind training as well, working, meditating. Let's say, for example, that was part of your routine. You would wake up every morning at 5 a.m. and boom, you'd meditate. You would go through your training, very intensive. And it was very often coerced, meaning, you would coerce yourself to get in there even when you didn't want to. You just had to do it. And this is what you did. You powered through. And then you get to a place where you're no longer in that environment. And a part of you actually wanted to give yourself so much more space. And now you get to a place in your life where you realize, I could use some of that routine again. I could use some of that discipline again. But there is that part within you that was forced to get into the military, for example, and never really had a good relationship with that routine to begin with. So in this moment, you realize, I would love to reconnect with this practice because it's something that works for me, because it's something that I know would support me. But there's a much younger part that is like, you know what? This reminds me of how much I had to shut down in order to just mindlessly go through this. And I don't think I want to go through that again. Your ability to address the resistance, to become intimate with that again, to release some of the frustration that you had to bury in your body in order to just go through the motions, to release some of that is what unifies you in this now moment. So why working through your resistance? So that you may create from a place that is much more integrated and much more powerful, so that things may flow even effortlessly in your life. And you don't do that through beating yourself up for the resistance, through trying to attack the resistance, oppose the resistance. You oppose an oppositional force, you amplify it. You don't do that through it. You illuminate it. You bring your light towards it. You begin to explore what are the hidden forces, hidden desires, hidden beliefs that are actually playing out in there. And how are the ways this may potentially be an attempt at protecting you. And when you address the roots of your resistance, you release all the energy that was encased in that resistance. All the energy that was once not available for what you truly want to create. And when that energy is actually released, it is new spiritual stamina that is available, energetic stamina that is available to actually create more elegantly, more gracefully. Resistance is not bad. It is not wrong. It is the way at times. It is the way. So allow yourself to lean in there. Allow yourself to explore it. And if this video supports you in any way possible, please like, share, subscribe. And I would love to know how this is landing for you. Share your comments below. Thank you for being here. And I'll see you in the next one.